Our narrative begins with that dark night under the moon. There is one young man and a girl. She gently touches him while he looks at her a little irritated and embittered. The guy turns towards the girl, and we see his very handsome appearance. The girl's eyes seem to shine, and she tries to say something to him. We learn that this guy is a demon lord. In the next frame, we realize that these two characters are just drawn characters. They are drawn by a girl named Song, Jin. She is an ordinary girl who lives in Korea. This girl loves to go to idol concerts very much, but suddenly, when she draws on her tablet, drips a drop of blood, she immediately frantically tries to find tissues to wipe off the blood. After she erased blood from her tablet, we find out that this girl's profession is web ramen illustrator today. She is very sad because the deadline coincided with the day of the concert she wanted to go to so badly. The girl looks discouraged. She is also upset because it is very difficult for her to get a ticket to the concert that she may miss. But then the girl pulls herself together and decides that she will not give up and will not miss this concert, and she decides that she needs to finish her work and cannot give up. A couple of hours later, the girl finally finished her work and sends a letter with the project to her employer. She is very happy that she was finally able to finish what she started and immediately called her supervisor to let him know that she had sent the cover and illustrations. The boss tells the girl that she has done her job well and asks what she thinks of the novel's content, but since the girl hasn't even read it, she realizes that it would be better if she could think of something to answer with. Jin says that the novel was very interesting. Especially, she liked the moment when the main characters met. Then, her employer praises the novel. She says that she liked the funeral of the twins the most. The boss says that she realizes that the sister is not dead, and mentions that she is looking forward to the sequel so much so that her heart is jumping out of her chest. The girl thinks she doesn't care about the content of the novel and needs to hurry up and get ready for the end. She tells her boss that she's absolutely right, but she called to have the boss check her mail and they'll talk about it another time. The girl is again happy that she finished all the work and can go to the concert. At the long-awaited concert was a huge number of people, and after the completion of the girl was left with pleasant impressions for her. 3 hours of the concert flew like 3 minutes. After the concert is over, she heads home as in friend and gets a text message telling her that another order has come in. The girl crosses the crosswalk and doesn't notice that there's only 2 seconds to go. She pulls out her phone and realizes she has another work order, decides she'll say she'll do it in a week, and doesn't notice a giant bus flying at her at full speed. She looks towards the bus and realizes that there is something wrong behind the driver. The girl wonders, is she going to die right today? But still, she does not regret a thing. And because she got to see the legendary concert, the girl thinks it's been a good life, but realizes that if she dies, her limited edition merchandise will suffer. Immediately, the girl jumps out of the place and, having done a couple of acrobatic stunts, successfully lands under the delight of the surrounding people who compare her skills with Tom Cruise. A girl yells to the bus that's leaving for the driver to be more careful, but realizes that she needs to watch where she's going because she almost died just now. But because the girl was thinking, she did not notice how a cyclist flew into her at full speed. After the collision with the bike, the girl falls to the ground. People gathered around and tried to somehow help the girl to recover, but realizing that nothing works, decided to call an ambulance. She can't believe she's going to die like this, but she's thinking about the fact that she's got a job to do and what's going to happen to her merch she's so worried about. Suddenly, the girl opens her eyes, but she is already in a different environment. She's surrounded by maids who exclaimed with joy that the princess has opened her eyes. One of them asks the princess if she has come to her senses. The girl gets out of bed, but she can't understand where she is and what's going on around her. One of the maids takes her hand and says it's good that she's finally awake, but the girl pulls her hand out and is surprised to be called a princess and wonders who these people are. The girl thinks about where she is now, and seeing a strange outfit, she wonders what kind of clothes she's wearing. Could it be hospital pajamas? It looks like this. She looks around and sees the expensive decoration of the room she is in. Everything is gilded and looks very rich. Surprised by the beauty of this place, the girl asks if this room is a VIP room, but as soon as she went to the mirror and saw herself there, she stopped for a moment in bewilderment. Suddenly the girl exclaimed that she knows this character, and this girl's name is definitely Alina. Realizing that she is looking in the mirror and seeing some character, the girl looks very surprised. After a while, her parents' servants and a doctor gather around the girl's bed, who informs her that Princess Alia seems to have lost her memory. He says that this may be due to the shock of falling into the pond. Her mother is very upset when she hears this, and her father asks the doctor meaningfully if there is nothing he can do to help his daughter. But the doctor says that despite the amnesia, her general condition is even better than before. He says that the girl's memories should return on their own, and for this the princess just needs to eat well and rest. Father is not satisfied with the answer of the healer and orders him to get a potion called Dragon's Heart. The girl herself is very surprised at what she hears, but the king insists that the healer help her. After all the people have left her room, she sits on her bed and does not understand where she is. According to the girl, she became the younger sister of the main character of the novel, to which she drew the cover. She is very upset because she ended up here because she needs to finish something in that world. According to the girl, she has to go back and edit pictures of her poofs and then get limited edition merch. She's so upset she can't do it right now. She even cried. Suddenly, Emma enters the girl's room sleep. A djinn lies down in bed and hastily covers herself with a blanket. The maid who came in asks the princess how she is feeling. But the girl replies that she's fine and emphasizes that she needs to think things through alone. Emma listens to the princess, but she's not going to give up. The girl says that today the weather is very nice outside and asks the protagonist if she wants to go for a walk, while the maid says that the girl might remember something outside. The protagonist doesn't understand anything, but Emma is already pushing her outside with a happy face. The protagonist changes her clothes and looks in the mirror. The maid mentions that the princess is very beautiful, and even the protagonist is surprised at how she looks. She looks at herself in the mirror and realizes that with a face like hers, she could debut and become a world-famous star. She is very much surprised by the beauty she was gifted with after her death. The girl realizes that it would be difficult to be reborn as a princess. Even if she had saved a whole country in her past life, she remembers what happened when the healer said she should eat well and have a good time. Then, all the maids around fussed and did not let her even lift a finger as they brought her everything she needed. Then the girl was very much surprised at what food she was served. The first question at the sight of this food was about its cost. She remembers how she was pelted with luxurious food while walking on the street. At the same moment, the girl realizes that maybe staying in this world is not the worst option, because here she is a princess and she has everything. The maid begins to tell the girl that the empire has lost the northern part of the territory after a long war with demons, but the girl doesn't even seem to care much. She thinks about the fact that she has people she needs to get back to. While the girl is thinking about all this, the maid says that the terrible demons the empire is fighting are good at magic, especially the demon lord. The girl is very surprised when she hears about the magic. She realizes that if there is magic here, she can find a way to get back home. The maid she doesn't pay attention to already seems to be going crazy behind her back, but the girl figures out that there must be spatial magic. Suddenly, the princess asks Emma if they are friends with demons. The maid starts to say that in general, it's something like that, and then the happy girl realizes that then she can turn to them for help. But the maid keeps talking, and it turns out that the Empire and HBRs trade with each other since the demons have no choice due to the no-attack treaty, but there is a dangerous sea between them, so it's hard for regular people to get there. The maid also tells the princess that the demons are isolated and very militant. But recently, there have been many rumors. Hearing about the rumors, the girl wonders what other rumors are going around. And then the maid tells the girl that there are rumors that demons keep people as pets and eat beauties at every meal. Also, people say that demons like to torture. The girl is very surprised after hearing what the maid told her. She looks very frightened because she didn't expect what she heard, but the maid tells the girl that it's just a rumor that has no proof. Emma compares these stories to ghost stories and tells the princess that she has nothing to worry about. The girl is a little disappointed by what she heard and walking around thinking how bad the relationship is between them if people allow themselves to make up such rumors. The princess realizes that it looks like she'll have to give up her trip to hers and the demon won't fall from the sky. She wonders what she can do to get back to her world. Suddenly, very loudly, the maid responds to the princess. Even the protagonist is very much frightened by such a loud call from her maid. Immediately, she stands in front of the princess as if to protect her from something. After the maid told the girl to be careful, the princess lowered her gaze to the ground, where she saw some guy looking at him. She wondered what kind of cutie was lying there. We learned that HBR is a land where outsiders can't get in. There's a very beautiful castle that seems to be shrouded in a purple glow. The same kid who is on the grass asks another man the same thing, a beautiful woman on the continent. While looking out the window, he thinks the Lord is having nightmares again. The man to whom the young man is addressed says that the most beautiful girl on the continent is Princess Elia, raised by the elf emperor in gold. And Jade, he also says that she is the twin sister of Princess Alina, who disappeared 20 years ago. The boy, hearing the man's reply, says that it looks like he will have to go to the elf imperial palace. He thanks the man for the information and looks very happy about it. A young boy creates a portal straight to the palace, to the princess. Immediately seeing this man asks him where he is going. We find out that the young boy's name is Faber. He looks at the man and says that he will kidnap the princess, but the guy doesn't look evil at all, on the contrary. He jumps into his portal, but it's a little higher than Faber thought, and the guy falls from a great height. The princess picks up a stick and starts poking the guy with it, asking him if he's okay. But the maid who stood in front of the princess tells the girl that he suddenly fell from the sky and shouldn't get too close to him. But the girl tells her maid to take him to the palace and get him treated because he might have hurt himself. She thinks the guy looks pretty nice. The maid resents the princess's desire and is surprised at her good-naturedness. She says they don't even know him, and yet there are no visible injuries on the fellow. But the princess says it's not enough to look at the distance to know whether he's hurt or not. She thinks that this guy has a cute face, so in her opinion he can't be dangerous. The princess wants to take a closer look at him, and immediately she and the maid take the guy to the palace. The maid tells the princess that she thinks it would be better if they call the knights, but the girl realizes that the maid is only in her way, and it would be better if she escorted the maid to get a good look at the guy. Emma realizes what's wrong and doesn't want to leave the princess alone, but Song Yi-jin looks at her and asks her to do it again. Emma agrees to fulfill the request of her mistress, but asks her not to go anywhere, happy that she was able to dress her maid on the right. The girl thinks about the fact that she has important business to attend to. Like a princess in love looking at a Faber, she's very surprised at how handsome he is. She admires his good skin, and she wonders if he's a natural blonde. Without taking her eyes off the Faber, she realizes that he looks just perfect. She thinks he has very nice eyebrows and a sharp nose. She wonders if she can touch him a little bit. But only the girl tried to touch the guy as immediately he opens his eyes and stands up sharply on the bed, and she was frightened by the fact that he suddenly came to his senses, that falls right on the floor. The guy who just woke up can't understand what's going on, and looking directly at the girl, asks her where he is now. The guy really looks like he doesn't fully understand where he is and what's happening to him. Dazed, Aya can't take her eyes off the stranger. She thinks she can go crazy with how beautiful his pupils are. The guy liked the girl so much that she is still looking at him with her mouth open. Suddenly, she gets up from the floor and, bowing slightly to the stranger, tells him that he is now in the A-Elf Empire, while the girl, of course, does not forget to introduce herself and tells the young man that she is Princess Elia von Elf. The guy is very happy to meet her and tells the girl that he was in the right place. He gets out of bed and greets the princess, to whom he was just on his way. The guy in turn does not forget to introduce himself and says his name is Faber Apor, and he also mentions that he came here directly from Hbor. Faber also names his position. It turns out he is the butler of the Demon Lord. The girl, hearing about who he is, very much surprised. She realizes she needs this guy to get home. She realizes this is her only chance to get home because she's already given up because she didn't know how to get there. But she is confused by the fact that demons can eat her. But realizing that this is just a rumor, the girl refuses to believe in them and realizes that this cannot be. She looks at Faber and thinks that this sweet, handsome man can't do anything terrible, and to believe the rumors that are spread reading Faber says that he was actually looking for a girl. She is very surprised that he was looking for her, but the guy tells her that he needs to quietly take her away from here. Looking at him happily, she thinks that his words are a cute kidnapping statement. Faber tells the princess that he wants to show her HBRs. According to him, there are many amazing fabrics, things, animals, plants, and magical items there that are not easily seen in the empire where she is right now. The girl can't believe what he says, but the guy tells her that aristocrats from other countries often come to visit them. He says they are attracted by the mysteries that lie in those lands. When she hears about this, she is surprised that apparently Hbor is not isolated from the others, which means that it is free to come there. She realizes that this is some kind of misunderstanding, but if that's the way it turns out, she can see spatial magic. And still, the girl thinks it's dangerous to go there. But Faber continues to convince the girl and tells her that Hbor is famous for their lord. According to him, he is considered the most handsome man not only in their country, but also on the whole continent. We learn that, in fact, most of the aristocrats come just to look at the lord of those lands. Among all the demon lords, he has the most powerful magic. Rumor has it that the royal families of other countries even buy his portraits. When she hears about it, the girl gets the idea to go there because the words about the most handsome man of the continent, and it really affected her. She thinks about how attractive you need to be to have your portraits bought by the rulers of other countries. She realizes that since she was going to hers anyway, the chance to go there with Faber is a good opportunity to do it. Her eyes lit up at the idea. Faber asks the girl if she wants to see their lord in person, and the girl promptly tells him that of course she does, and suggests Faber go there. The guy says that's great news. Emma enters the room and tells the princess that she has brought water. The maid looks in the room in bewilderment and notices that neither the princess nor the young man is there. After briefly looking into the room and finally convinced that the princess and Faber are not there, she sees only a note that was left by them. Using a portal to move Faber and the girl arrived at the palace of the lord. The guy tells the protagonist that they are already there while she stares in amazement at the palace of the demon lord. The girl with her mouth open looks at all this splendor and thinks that the atmosphere in this place is not serious. Faber opens the gate to the palace and tells the girl that they need to come here, still surprised by all the splendor that she saw. The girl agrees to follow Faber straight to the demon lord. Dear friends, and if you want to see the continuation of this wonderful story, be sure to subscribe to the channel and do not forget to put a like under this video. And when we will gain 5000 likes or 400000000 views, I will definitely do for you the second part. As they make their way to the demon lord, she wonders if this is what his castle really looks like. The girl realizes that usually it takes a lot of sweat to buy tickets to see a celebrity, and here she has the opportunity. Faber says that it is a great honor for him to accompany the princess, and he also says that the lord himself will also be happy to see the guest in his palace. The princess asks Faber what kind of demon is his lord, but Faber only says that his lord is an incredibly beautiful demon. From his words, for him, even battles between noble ladies of different countries took place. According to the guy, their amazing lord chooses his companions solely on the basis of ability without regard to their lineage and origin, and the demons chosen by him of high rank receive the surname HBRs and can serve him. The girl is again surprised by Faber's words and says she wants to meet his lord as soon as possible. The boy is also very happy that the girl is so enthusiastic. The guy says in the third person that Fab will make it happen as soon as possible, but the girl wakes up and realizes that she needs to come to her senses, because now is not the time for that, and the most important thing is to find a way to get home. The girl tells Faber that she wants to ask him something. The joyful demon says that of course the girl can ask him any question, and then the princess asks if there are many books in the demon lord's library. Faber is very surprised by this question. He says that there are a lot of books, but they are mostly about demons. Also, the guy wonders if the girl is asking about something specific when she hears his question. She wonders how to explain to him what she needs, because she can't tell him that she is from another dimension, and if she explains to the Faber what kind of book she needs, he will definitely ask why she needs such a book. The girl gets out of it and says that she just likes to read, and before meeting with the demon lord, she would like to know how to behave properly, because her words say that the book is food for thought. The guy says he's clear, and in that case he'll first show the girl his master's library, heading to the right place. She's glad she could get away with it. After they reach the demon lord's library, Faber asks the girl to wait a moment so that he can inform the lord of her visit. After Faber left, the girl realizes that it's a very good coincidence she has to try to find the right book, because in her opinion, at least one of them should be useful to her. She grabs a lot of books in the library of the lord, joyfully goes to read them, when suddenly behind her appears a silhouette of a man who is watching the girl from afar. Some handsome guy watching the actions of guests and wonders what the man is doing here. The girl did not find anything useful in the book she took. I think it's about what kind of magic should be used and why there is no information about the spatial. She thinks it would be easier if she just asked Faber about it. The girl gathers up all the books she brought to the table to read and is about to put them back where they belong. Suddenly, the girl stumbles and falls on the floor, with all the books seeing this. The guy comes out of the corner and asks the girl if she's okay. The princess raises her head to look at the guy. Looking at him, she realizes that she can go crazy about how unusual his appearance is. The girl is amazed at how handsome this guy is. She tries to say something, but the guy interrupts her and doesn't ask her who she is. You can see from the guy's face that he doesn't fully understand how the girl ended up in the library. Faber enters some office and tells another demon named Hervé that he's got it all worked out, but Hervé looks at him and doesn't seem to understand what the guy is talking about. You can see from his look that he's a little annoyed, and he's not interested in that right now. Faber comes to the table where Hervé is sitting and tells him that he has brought the princess of the Aral Empire, but looking around, he also wonders where the Lord is now. The embittered Hervé replies that if he knew where the Lord is now, he wouldn't have to sit in his place. Faber says he understands and wonders what they'll do with the princess he brought, but KVA dismissively tells the guy that he'll decide what to do with her himself. Faber is surprised by this answer and says that he told him to bring the girl, but he mentions that he's busy and tells the guy to follow her and then report back to him. Suddenly, the enraged Kara starts shouting to another high-ranking demon called Ranky to wake up at the same time Faber turns around and sees Ranky sleeping with a book on his face. While Faber is looking at another sleeping high-ranking demon, a piece of paper flies into his head. He gets very nervous and starts screaming that this is too much. The boy asks the Chva if he understands how hard it was for Faber to bring the princess from another place, but the Chva seems to ignore his words and is thinking about something. After Faber finishes his monologue, Hervé throws him out of the room where they are and tells him to shut up and find the Lord. The guy is very upset that his efforts were not appreciated. He starts crying, sitting on his knees in the hallway. At this time in the library, the princess who is standing in front of the stranger has a strange feeling, and she feels a very strong fluttering of the heart and a slight vibration from the tips of her fingers to her toes. She is so excited to meet this young man that she is even breathless. Because of all the emotions she felt when she first met this young man, the girl decided that now she will be his fan. She seems very happy to have met such a handsome young man, but the guy is not as delighted as the girl. He again repeats his question to the girl and asks her who she is. The girl is surprised that the guy is so persistent in trying to find out her name. But just by looking at it, it's like she gets a ray of sunshine right in her eyes, and she immediately turns her head. She thinks that this face is turning Turer, her favorite babies, into squids, and it's too dangerous to see. The girl realizes that she needs to calm down and starts frantically picking up all the books that she scattered when she fell. Also, the girl introduces herself and says that her name is Aya von Arol. She mentions that she was looking for something and forgot a little bit. The guy hearing the girl's name immediately becomes more serious and is surprised that she is an elf princess. But the girl looks at him and realizes that it seems that this guy is angry because she came here without permission. But looking at him, she realizes that his angry face is also very beautiful. She even thinks that it is a real shrine. The guy tells the girl that no outsiders are allowed in here, so he asks her to leave. The princess is very surprised by these words and mentions that Faber told her she could read about something here. The young man is surprised that Faber gave the girl permission to come here and asks what book he allowed her to read. The girl is puzzled and doesn't know what to say to him. She immediately sits down on her knees next to all the scattered books and says she will clean it up. She also emphasizes that people say that demons can do magic, so she was looking for a book on spatial magic. A young guy asks the princess why she is interested in it, but the girl says she just needs to get to an interesting place and asks if there is spatial magic. The guy towers over her and tells the girl that such magic simply does not exist. She looks at him a little sadly as if thinking about something, but then the princess stands in front of the guy and says that his words are not true, and she has heard of such magic. Although Emma said so, who of course can't know if there is such magic. The guy sees the princess approaching him and tells her not to get close to him. She's a little surprised that he told her to stay away, and after looking at him from a few different angles, she wonders if he really doesn't like her that much, but the guy just says there's nothing here that she's looking for, so he tells her to just leave. Elia is a little angry at such rude behavior on the part of the guy, and raising her voice tells him that she is allowed to read a book here. She thinks that he is completely unable to communicate. The girl assumes that it is because he is so handsome. The guy looks at her, and after listening to her speech, tells the girl that he didn't allow her to read here. She thinks he's up to his old tricks again and starts setting his own terms here. The princess raised her voice at this guy again and said that she would then ask permission here to read from the demon lord, and immediately wondered where he was now. The guy doesn't say anything back to the girl, but he thinks that his patience is running out. He thinks that there are rumors that people are very fragile and can be easily broken, so he should be careful with the princess. He is afraid that something extraordinary may happen, and this girl will just break as rumors say. But suddenly, from all these thoughts, he is distracted by the girl herself. She apologizes to the guy. I again wonder where she can find the demon lord for a face-to-face meeting. The guy looks at her and is surprised that apparently the girl is not afraid of him at all. Looking directly at her, the annoyed young man thinks that this girl probably doesn't even fully understand who she's talking to, so he tells her that the demon lord is busy and doesn't have time for meetings. The princess is a little angry about what the guy said. She tells him to stop lying because Faber told her that he would take her straight to him. The guy tries to hide his anger, but he realizes again that Faber is the stumbling block. He tells the girl that she can't see the demon lord anyway, but she insists on it and asks why he says so. The girl gets the answer that people can't see the demon lord, but she again asks a counter question as to why that is so. Suddenly, Faber himself enters the library. He is still looking for the lord, and thinking that he is here, the whole library asks where he is after he saw his lord, who is near the girl. He comes to him and says that he has been looking for him for a long time because he did not know that he is here and has already met with the princess. Hearing that this guy is the demon lord himself, the girl seemed to have a slight change in her face, and the lord himself turned to her to see the girl's reaction when she realized who she was talking. To the girl's surprise, could be heard in the whole castle of the lord, pointing her finger at this young guy. She asks if it's really the same demon lord. Already quite annoyed, the guy looks at the girl without words. Suddenly, Faber is very frightened because of something. He looks directly at the demon lord. At this time, the demon lord grabbed his chest. He says that the girl found out that he is a demon lord from his words. The princess will also despise him. She will fear, like everyone else, hate and accuse him of being some kind of monster. He realizes he should have stayed where he was before. From his words, he shouldn't have come out, and he should have sat there forever. Also. He tells the girl not to be afraid of herself. At this time, some black lightning bolts appear around him. She asks Faber if he sees what she sees. She is surprised by the presence of black lightning, but the calm Faber says that everything is fine, and it seems that the demon lord feels a little uncomfortable. The girl is very suspicious of Faber's words. She asks if the demon lord is really uncomfortable, and Faber gives her an affirmative answer. Then she starts to think it's all because of her, but Faber dispels her thoughts and says the demon lord is always like that. Then the girl grabs her hair and says she looked like an idiot. She's so excited about the encounter that she asks Faber if she'll be killed and die so stupidly. But Faber just laughs and tells the princess she's very funny. Faber starts to tell the girl not to worry, because the demon lord behaves differently with humans. But then the lord himself does not let him finish and responds to him. The demon lord ordered Faber to come to him, but the girl, because she is very frightened, grabs Faber and asks him to talk. She asks how the lord behaves with people and why Faber was silent. It is obvious that she is frightened, because before this, she has heard many terrible rumors. Faber tells the girl that the overlord won't kill her, but she's so scared that she starts crying and screaming that it's a lie, because she saw this black lightning that came out of nowhere and almost killed them. The still weeping princess asks why everything is happening, and why she has angered the demon lord so much, but Faber, who is behind her back, tells the girl that he needs to step back a bit. After Faber approaches the lord is incredibly angry, and asks his subject what the man is doing in the castle, and not just any man but the princess herself. Faber says that it was he who brought the girl here, but this answer makes his lord even angrier. He clarifies that Faber brought the girl here without any formalities, and not just any girl, but the daughter of the Aral Emperor. The lord asks if Faber wants war with their country. Faber tries to justify himself somehow, but the overlord does not let him say a word and orders him to immediately send the girl back where she came from. Faber says he can't do it because Hervé said to bring the most beautiful person. Faber says it's because of the demon lord, and because he doesn't get involved with anyone. Faber also says it's not about the job, it's just that the lord doesn't do anything. The demon lord turns to his subject, but Faber comes closer to him and tells his lord that he has an heir to think about. That's why he didn't bring Princess Elia, the most beautiful woman in the Aral Empire. From his words, they are all trying for the lord. The lord tells Faber that he understands everything, but he doesn't look very happy because Faber started talking about the heir again. The subject starts crying and says that he is very sad, but the lord says that he understands everything and asks Faber to move away from him. Faber is surprised at the response from his lord, but he keeps talking and orders Faber to take the girl to the castle. Faber says he will of course do it and asks which room to take her to, VIP or regular room. But the overlord tells him to give her the entire Western Palace. Faber laughs, but the overlord doesn't understand why, and turns to him, at which time Faber tells him that he thought the overlord would make him scare him into kicking the girl out. At this point, the overlord remembers the moment he met the girl, and how she told him that she was looking in his library for a book on spatial magic. He realizes that the girl knows about such magic, but the Lord does not understand how could she know about it. After all, this magic is a secret that is known to a small number of higher demons. It is obvious that he cannot understand anything, especially the origins of the girl's knowledge of magic. The Lord tells Fa to take care of the girl until she leaves back happy that the girl can be left at the palace. Faber says he understands and follows his Lord's orders. Faber also tells the Lord that he needs to be careful. The Lord doesn't really know what he's talking about, but Faber comes closer to him and says in his ear that he was referring to the power the Lord suddenly showed. He says the princess was a little scared. Faber asks his Lord to control his emotions, but the Lord tells Faber that he knows what to do. Faber says that in that case he will go to do his Lord's bidding. Suddenly the demon lord begins to think about something. He looks at his hand, from which is visible some magic. This sight is simply fascinating. He remembers how he was rejected by society as a child. Some people said he wanted to hurt some kid. They said they didn't care if he was royalty or not. Because this guy is still a demon lord, they called him a filthy monster. Clenching his hand into a fist in which magic is still visible in the form of some beautiful lightning, the Lord decides that the princess must be sent away before anything happens. The girl, who is still in the library, is thinking that she was very pleased to watch such a handsome man, but she noticed that he doesn't control you, so it's better not to make him angry. When she is tired of waiting, she looks around and tries to figure out where Fa has gone, who brought her here, realizing that she is alone. Here the girl gets very scared and starts running and screaming around the room while calling for Faber. She runs to the exit and screams that she doesn't like scary rooms. Right in front of the exit is some guy, but the girl doesn't see who he is, and because of the intense fear she immediately goes to hug him in order to calm down a little bit. After the girl calmed down, she looked at the guy she hugged and realized that she didn't even know him. The girl looks a little confused, unlike the guy who looks unperturbed when he looks at the girl. He realizes that she is an arrow princess. The girl doesn't know him, but she admires the guy's beauty as usual and looks at him in surprise. As suddenly, this guy removes the steel in the girl's hand and lets her go immediately. The princess falls to the ground and hits the floor, while he just sits motionless and watches it all happen. The guy just looks at the girl and does not even try to give her any help to get up from the floor. A smirk appears on his face, and we realize that he did it on purpose to make the girl fall. Apparently, he is not the kindest representative of this castle. The girl is surprised and angered by such an act on the part of this demon, and looks at him in surprise, trying to understand why he did this to her. She didn't expect him to let her go and let her fall to the ground. The demon smiles and marvels that the girl was really brought here. The action shifts to a few days before the princess was in this castle. 4 high-ranking demons that day gathered around a table. One of them informs the others that they are gathered here for a very important occasion. From his words, if things continue like this, the uprising will soon begin. Fa then, very much surprised to hear, but that demon continued his story from his words, gentleness and kindness, that distinguish the current lord from the previous one. Most of the nobles have already noticed. They have even noticed that this demon is involved in affairs of state. Instead of the Lord, Faber proposes to destroy everyone before this very rebellion begins. While Faber lays out his thoughts, Hervé looks annoyed. KVA tells the other demons that the main problem is that the overlord does nothing, which is why the nobles are not afraid to show their hostility towards him, which is why they need some kind of bait to divert their attention. For example, according to Hervé, such a bait could be a woman who can continue the family of the Lord. Faber is very surprised by such a proposal and emphasizes that their lord is not dating anyone. According to him, their lord has never even held hands with a girl, and what heir in such a case can even talk about? The demons listen to Faber. They themselves realize that this could be a problem. But then Kara says that in that case, they must force their lord to do it. He gives the task to Faber, which is that the guy to bring here the most beautiful woman he can find, and whether she is a human or a demon. Also, Kara says that it will be lucky if this girl turns out to have a good character, but even if it is not so, Faber must fulfill his assignment anyway. Faber is very surprised by such an assignment. Kwa, who apparently knows what's going on, says that if their plan works, they'll have an heir, and the Kiddies will have to fight for their position. Faber is happy that he can help in overcoming such a difficult situation. He says that he understood his task, and the other demons can rely on him because he will bring here the most beautiful woman who can only find on the continent. The guy looks very enthusiastic about his task and says to just trust him, while the other demons who are also at the table, as if not interested in the whole situation, one of them is sleeping and the other looks like he doesn't care, and only KVA himself seems interested in making it work. He says that in that case they will really rely on Faber, and if he agrees with his mission, let him start doing it. At this time, the girl who fell on the floor thinking that this demon dropped her on purpose, looking directly at the demon who dropped her. She does not understand why he had to catch her. In her opinion, being just handsome is not enough to behave like that. At this point, the guy pretends he didn't do it on purpose and holds out his hand to the princess. He tries to justify himself somehow and says that his hand slipped. He asks the princess if she will forgive his rudeness. The princess is fascinated by the demon's manners. She says that everyone has the right to make a mistake, and there is nothing wrong with him dropping her, while in her thoughts she realizes that apparently it is enough just to be handsome after all. The demon looks at the princess and realizes she looks like the kind of girl he always wants to meet again. He fears she is too good to be just food for. The wolves. The demon says that he thinks the girl is a little lost because this road is only for the headed. The girl is very surprised that this corridor is only for the headed, but the guy says that she is the kind can torture for a very long time. So girls better not go here if she does not want to be lost forever. The princess is very much surprised by his words, but the demon says that if he tells more, he may have a problem from his words. He was glad to see the girl. Just as she tried to tell him that she was glad to see him too, the guy disappears right in front of her face. Suddenly Faber calls her from behind. He runs to the princess and asks her when she got here. The girl doesn't understand at first, but then she says she came here just now. Faber tells her that he's been looking for her for a long time. Happy that he has met the Princess, Faber asks her permission to show her the right way, while the girl thinks that if there is teleportation, there must be spatial magic as well. Faber leads her to the place where she will live. The girl sees the castle that the Lord has given her, is surprised that she will live here, and claims that a bed would be enough for her. We see this beautiful castle that has been allotted to her, and Faber informs the girl that the building and land are entirely at her disposal. He emphasizes that the girl can read this as her home and hope to eat here comfortably. She can't understand if the demon lord is really that angry with her, because she realizes that he gave her such a big, grandiose palace specifically to pressure her to leave this place back to herself. But Faber says that's not true, of course, and the lord just wants the princess to have a good rest. She's very happy that she's been given such a huge house. She says it's very nice. After Faber left her alone with her thoughts, the girl entered the palace allocated to her. She looked around and lay in bed. She looks a little tired. But suddenly, the princess seems to be torn by emotion. She says she has only one body and doesn't understand what to do with the hundreds of rooms that are here because there is no one else in this castle. She remembers the first time she came in here and started asking if anyone was here, and according to the girl, she got lost almost immediately because the castle is so big. The girl is very angry because she does not understand how it was possible to abandon the guest. She, as if turning to the Lord, asks if he really thinks that handsome men are allowed to do such things. She is as if asking him if he really wants to just survive the princess. She feels as if she was chased away to a house abandoned by someone else. But looking around, the girl realizes that the room is very warm and cozy. But immediately, she gets out of bed with the words that now is not the time for all this. She first of all needs to find a way to return to the past life. It is for her now a priority. She's very angry about everything that's going on because she's already experienced the wrath of the devil. She's scared of a ghost. And that's why it's time for her to go home. She goes out of the castle to the street and goes somewhere while in his room. The Lord is frantically walking from one side to another. He realizes that the longer the princess stays in the castle, the more dangerous the situation becomes. The Lord is thinking about how he can send the girl back. It seems to him that she is very much interested in the world of demons. A picture of the girl pops up in his mind, who asks him if he can travel to other dimensions. But the Overlord also thinks that apparently this girl will give up easily. Suddenly, one of the demons opens the door to his room loudly. The Lord is even a little frightened by such a loud noise. It turned out to be Kara, who says that finally he has found the Lord. Apparently, he has been looking for him for a long time. The Overlord himself tells his subject that he has come just in time. He reports that Faber has brought a princess from the Elf Empire and has not asked anyone about it. But Kara listened to his lord and immediately snapped his fingers, and huge stacks of papers appeared in the room, piling up even on the lord himself. Even the overlord was surprised by such a huge amount of different papers. He looks a bit confused because he wasn't expecting this, but Kwa says that, since the overlord never shows up, he decided to come see him in person. The overlord tells Kara to calm down and tells him that that's not the problem right now, because they have a princess arriving right in the demon world. But Kwa says that's great, but he has some other issues to work out. Kara informs the lord that they have received a letter from the kingdom of Bashar. They want to send them a messenger for the lord's birthday. They also need to solve something with the Marquis of Wessos about the illegal sale of half-breed demons to other countries in the country. Kara asks the lord if this is not a problem for him. The lord refuses and says that these are certainly very serious issues. Hervé says that it's great that the overlord realizes that these are problems himself and tells him that things are looking up for him to take his place, but the overlord tells Hervé to calm down because it will be considered treasonous. The lord tells his subject that what is even more important is that the princess knew about spatial magic. He tries to continue talking about it, but a stack of papers appears in front of him again, and his subject informs him that these cases are the most important and require his immediate consideration. Hervé tells his lord that he is far more capable than he is, and so he thinks that 4 days and 4 nights will be enough for him to sort it all. Audelaya is still walking around the overlord's estate, and she thinks that everything was going well until she got to the castle of the demon lord. The girl went somewhere, but she doesn't realize where she went. She looks around. It seems to her that the library is in the other direction. She hopes that she will not meet the head maid. Suddenly, she sees the demon walking around the castle and is surprised by the unexpected encounter. She apologizes to him for disturbing him, and after saying hello, she tells the demon that she is looking for the library. But the demon has drawn his sword right in the princess's face because she is sitting with her eyes closed. She can't see it yet. But after the girl opens her eyes, she is so scared of the sword that is right in front of her face that right at that moment she starts stuttering while the demon majestically asks her who she is. He also looks a little excited to meet a guest he didn't know about and tells the girl to answer how she got here. The stuttering girl, who is also sweating from excitement, asks the demon to wait a bit for her to explain herself. She tries to say that she is from the Arrow Empire and her name is Elia, but the girl says it very slurred because she stutters, because she is so scared she still has the demon's sword in front of her face. She looks at it with fear. Suddenly, the demon starts swinging his giant sword. A look of confusion on his face. He tells the girl that he is clear. At this time, the lord is walking around the castle. He asks himself, what is the point of his work if he can't do anything? Because of the princess, he walks next to his subordinate, who is sleeping, because he is overworked. The lord realizes that he needs to solve the problem with the princess first. Suddenly, he hears some strange noise behind him and wonders if the princess is there while the girl dodges a deft sword blow. She is still very scared because she was attacked by a demon and is trying to kill her. The girl falls to the floor, and the demon is surprised that she was able to dodge his ball. He asks the girl if she was able to dodge it, but the crying princess on the floor says, what else can she do but that? The guy with the ball approaches her and looks majestically at the girl. He notices that she was able to dodge the sword, and it's incredible, and the guy thinks that humans are weaker than them anyway, but they can apparently defend themselves. The guy says goodbye to the girl. Obviously, that's because he's going to kill her right now, while the princess is crying on the floor, wondering if she's going to die here because she just wanted to go home. Suddenly, the demon swings his sword, but before it pierces the girl, the lord appears right in front of him. He asks his subordinate if he pointed the sword at the princess, and the lord looks a little angry. The guy says he did indeed point his sword at the princess. The angry lord says she's a weak person and asks his subject how he dared to attack her in the first place. The guy puts his sword on the floor and bows to his lord, saying it's his job. He reminds him that his job is to deal with trespassers. The guy asks his lord to punish him if he was wrong. The evil lord thinks about his words for a while and tells the guy that he will not leave it like that, then orders him to go back to his place and wait for his order. The guy, who was kneeling and listening to the lord all this time, says that he understood everything. The lord approaches the girl and thinks about the fact that the princess is an ordinary person, and she must have been very scared, and he didn't even think of asking about her well-being. He looks at the girl, who is still crying. On the girl's neck, you can see a small cut from the sword. Apparently, the guy still managed to hurt the girl. Thank God it was not very bad. The Lord asks the girl if she is okay. The girl, choking in her tears, tries to tell him that everything is okay, but she can't do anything. The demon lord touches her shoulder a little, but noticing that his magic has activated, he takes his hand off the girl's shoulder and looks at her meaningfully. The guy says that he will guide the girl. She, of course, agrees with him because she realizes that this is a very dangerous place. He walks ahead of the girl, while the princess herself thinks that today is not a good day because everything could have ended badly if the demon lord had not come. She finally stops crying, and we learn that the girl really thought she might die now, and she also realizes that the demon lord is definitely mad at her now and will kick her out for such misdeeds. But the girl calms down and realizes that she's alive after all, only because the Lord intervened, and after he turns around to see if the girl is following him, she once again notices that he's very cool. The Lord tells the girl that they have finally arrived where she was headed, and the girl thanks him for helping her. Standing in front of the girl, the Lord apologizes for the incident. The princess in turn is very surprised that the Lord himself apologizes to her and does not really understand what he is saying. The Lord says that if in general terms his subordinate slave Oni just wanted to fulfill his duties, and this is his show of loyalty, but the girl as if does not even listen to him despite the guy won words, if there is anyone in this world more cute than the demon lord. As she looks at him, her mouth drools, and she realizes that no one could have imagined that the demon lord would be so handsome. Noticing that the girl did not seem to be paying attention to him or even listening, the Lord called out to her. But the girl was so thoughtful that when he turned to her again, she was very much frightened and covered herself with her. Hand addressing the girl, the demon lord asks her to hurry back home because she won't find what she's looking for here. Obviously, it's the same magic. Looking at the girl, he tells her that this place is not made for fragile people, and if she stays here for a longer time, the girl can easily get hurt, so he doesn't ask her to leave quickly before anything happens to her. After he finished saying this to the girl, the overlord just turns around and walks away, and the girl stares at his back as if she didn't understand anything and thinks that he's just an unreal handsome guy. Then the overlord gathered all his men around a round table. He says they have something urgent to discuss, and it is for this reason that he has called them all to him. He emphasizes that as his subjects already know the princess has arrived, he emphasizes that Faber brought her here arbitrarily and Rabboni almost beheaded her. Faber, having heard that his master thinks he brought the girl here unauthorized, tells him that he did not, and that he was ordered to bring the girl by Herva, while Rabboni mentions that he did not hurt anyone after all. Angry at his subjects, the Lord asks Rabboni if he doesn't know that humans are much easier to harm than demons, but Rabboni tries to justify himself and says that humans are not easily broken. The Lord becomes even angrier and, hitting his fist on the table, says that his subject has swung his sword at the princess of the empire, and this is a serious offense that cannot be forgiven. He orders his subordinate to protect her until she returns home, and if anything happens to her, let him be ready to take the consequences of such a great offense. Rabboni says he will do his master's bidding, and then the master switches to Hervé, mentioning that he told Faber to bring the princess and asks him why he did it. Hervé also tries to justify himself and emphasizes that he told Faber that he told him to bring a beautiful person here, but he could not think that Faber would actually follow the order and bring the princess here. Faber starts crying and tells Hervé that this is too much, but the latter in turn says that Faber has failed to follow orders many times, and so he thought that this order will not be an exception. But he says since the girl is here, he's going to use her for his lord. The Lord doesn't really know what his subject is talking about and wonders what his plan is. But Kara asks his lord if it is not profitable for him to have the girl here. The Lord says that it is not, and they need to find a way to quickly bring the princess back, because she does not belong in the world of demons. The Lord remembers that the girl asked him about spatial magic. He thinks that the situation becomes much more serious, as the girl is interested in the magic of the demon world. Being incredibly annoyed, the overlord says that anyway, they need to send the girl back quickly, but Hervé says that's impossible. The overlord gets even more pissed off and asks his subordinate if he's really decided to obey his orders. Hervé snaps back and says that he doesn't see any point in it because the overlord doesn't date anyone and doesn't let anyone get close to him, and the guy also emphasizes that he releases his poisonous demonic energy and right. According to him, it is because of this that the courtiers cannot appear in the palace, and the arrogant nobles feel relaxed and not afraid of anything at all according to him. In this situation, the princess will be very useful, pointing to another subordinate. He says that Ranai will think of a better way to utilize the presence of the princess here. The Lord says that he has clearly told his subject that he does not agree to this because they should not do any harm to people. Hervé says that it is not his business, but the appearance of an heir would strengthen the power of the Lord and would subdue the nobles. But he emphasizes that if the overlord doesn't want to hurt her, then he needs to at least learn to control his demonic power. The Lord is very much annoyed by the words of his subject and asks him if he really wants to say that the Lord himself is to blame for this, but the guy is frightened after seeing the demonic power of his Lord and says that this is certainly not true. At the same time, he tries to somehow pretend to the Lord and says that he realizes that it's all because their Lord has the most powerful magic among all the lords. From his words, it's hard to control him. After the Lord listened to his subjects, he asked what he could do about it if everything goes wrong. He gets up and leaves and tells the guys they'll never understand it. Rand tells his colleague that because of him, their Lord is upset again, looking at him meaningfully. He wonders if Hervé is really going to use the princess for their benefit. Hervé, who looks like he's not even concerned about what's going on around him, says they should find a use for the girl. After they finish their meeting, Hervé talks to one of the maids named Everil. He asks her if her father was a man. The girl lowers her head and says he was, and the guy emphasizes that, in that case, she should know how to get along with people. He tells the maid that from this day on, she will be the hands and feet of the princess. He orders her to report on the girl's every move. Her mission is to report what the princess does, what she says she likes, and what she doesn't like. Also, he calls completely stupid information, like reporting to him how many times she looked at the sky in a day, to emphasize that the girl has to report everything to him. The maid is very excited about her mission, and says that of course she will inform him of the princess's every move, while the princess herself sleeps in her bed in her assigned castle. After she opens her eyes, she sees a maid who greets her and tells her that she is a maid from the Lord's castle and that she will serve her from today. The girl is very surprised to be assigned a personal maid, but right after she gets out of bed, Avel says she will help the princess wash up first and asks her to give the job to her at first. The princess looks surprised, but then the maid asks the princess for permission to be her hands and feet. When the princess takes a bath, the maid even washes her head. After she finished taking a bath, the maid brushes the girl's hair and tells her that it is a great honor for her. The princess is a little surprised. She thinks about the fact that yesterday the Lord told her to go home, and now he gives her such a faithful maid. She realizes that if it goes on like this, the princess will not want to go anywhere else because she will be very comfortable here. She remembers the departing overlord telling her that she wouldn't find what she was looking for here, so she had to get home sooner rather than later. His words again, seeming not to affect her. All she can think about is that if you think back to that moment, the lords are unrealistically handsome, and then the girl wakes up and realizes that she doesn't care about that right now. She realizes that she has only two choices. Either she goes home or she doesn't. The girl tries to convince herself that she needs it badly and asks you who wouldn't want to go back. Enter her face. The maid asks the girl if there is something she likes. The princess is surprised by such a question from the maid and can't even give her an answer at once. She immediately thought about Adels and fanfics about Unreal Handsome. Then she realizes that the maid will not understand what the girl is talking about and tells her that she just likes everything beautiful. The maid says that she understands her and asks what she doesn't like. The princess thinks over her question, but can't think of anything, and tells the girl that she can't think of anything. Then, the maid, having literally understood her master's assignment, says that everything is clear to her and asks how many times a day does the girl look at the sky. The princess looks a little surprised and says she doesn't know the answer to that question, but asks the girl why she doesn't ask about it. The maid, who feels awkward, says she just needs to know. After the maid has finished taking care of the princess, we see that the girl really looks stunning. Even the maid tells her that she is very beautiful. Beautiful. The girl thanks her subject for the compliment in the work, and the maid in her turn says that she is glad to serve such a handsome man. Then she immediately squats down and tells the girl to climb on her back to carry her to the dining room. The princess is very much surprised that the girl wants to carry her to the dining room on her own back, and tells the maid that it's all right and she doesn't have to do it now. The maid looks even more surprised in turn. The maid tells the princess that she cannot allow such a precious person to go to the dining room by herself, and so she will carry her, The princess refuses and tells the girl that she appreciates her work, but can go herself. But the listener still insists on her own way, and says that in that case, she can't stand up as the princess's feet, though that's what she's supposed to become. The princess doesn't fully understand what it means, and asks the maid what it means, but she says that she was ordered to be her limbs. After the princess hears the answer, she is again very surprised by this arrangement. And the maid goes on to say that she's been ordered to report on the girl's every move, what she does, and what she says, what she likes, and what she doesn't like, and how many times she looks up at the sky during the day. The maid says this is the first time she has been entrusted with such a high-ranking guest, so she is very excited, while the princess who is watching her looks shocked, unlike the maid who is incredibly happy. The maid literally starts begging the girl to let her carry her on her back. She says she will be the hands and feet of the princess and will genuinely care for her. The princess says that her words and actions are more like surveillance. She asks the maid if she was allowed to tell her, but the maid tells the girl that no one told her to keep it a secret. Immediately, the princess decides to ask the maid whose order it was. She thinks it was the order of the demon lord himself, but the maid says it was the order of Hera, who is the assistant of the lord. The princess realizes that she doesn't even know who this demon is, and the maid is still excited to serve the princess and says she can't believe it. The princess herself thinks that, because of this bright child, the plan was ruined. The maid takes the princess on her back and tells her that they will now go to the dining room. Finally, the girl looks resigned and agrees to the maid's words. Renai knocks on his lord's door, but he hears snoring. He says he knows the lord is awake, so he asks him to open the door. The guy just stands in front of the door and doesn't hear any answer using his magic. He opens the door to the lord's room and sees the king lying there. The guy says that the lord didn't answer him, so he decided to just go in. The lord looks a little angry and tells his subject to leave because he doesn't want to see him ranky, sits down on his bed and says he is very sad to hear him say such words. Just then, the agitated overlord gets up on the bed and asks his subject if he hasn't heard that his aide will ignore his orders and take advantage of the fact that their castle is now occupied by a princess of the empire. Ranky says that of course he heard it, but it's far from the worst thing he's ever said in his life. He also mentions that the overlord must understand what was really meant from his words. It's all about loyalty to him. The lord is again a little annoyed and tells his subject that he doesn't know anything because he was asleep the whole time, but he replies that he took a little nap but heard every word. The concerned lord says that this girl is the princess of Aurol, and that not only has she been brought here brazenly, but she is also being used. He says the subjects do not understand the diplomatic implications of what awaits them, and most importantly, that the girl is likely to be harmed while here. After listening to his lord, Ranky asks him if he can ask him some question. The lord agrees to listen to him. Then Renai asks the king what worries him more, diplomatic relations with another country, or the fact that there is some kind of threat hanging over the girl when she is here. The lord says that the girl is a very important person, and the demons will definitely be recognized as a vicious race if something happens to her. In hers, he also reminds that at the end of the war, it was decided that they will live with humans in peace and will not harm them. Ranai says that he thinks so too, and demons should not harm people, otherwise they will be shunned even more. Then he asks for permission to ask another question. He asks his lord about his concerns. The boy wonders if their king really doesn't like hurting people, or if it's just that they'll be shunned even more. The lord does not answer his question, and Ranai decides to change the subject and asks what their lord would like to eat for breakfast. As if offended, the lord says he will not eat it. The lad informs his lord that not long ago, Sherry gave birth to a cub in the dining room. He says even in the neighboring castle, there is talk of how small and cute this baby is. But pretending to be distressed, tells the lord that of course nothing can be done about it, so he will tell the dining room that he will eat separately later, the subordinate also saying that he will then go about his business. But the lord, who was obviously also interested in looking at the child, calls out to his subject, and then he looks at the lord and asks him if they will go to the dining room together. At the same time, the maid brought the princess into the dining room and told her about it. The princess looks a little embarrassed that she came here on the back of her own maid. She says it was a good thing they didn't get in the way. The maid asks the princess to wait a little while because she will bring food again. The confused girl agrees. She looks around in the dining room and realizes that in this castle, even the dining rooms are huge, and she can't understand why such a big castle is so empty. Suddenly, a beautiful demonic kitty meows next to her feet. She looked at it, and her heart melted. She greets the kitty and asks him if he lives here, and what is his name, and where is his mom. Suddenly, the kitty starts to run away, and the surprised girl asks where he's going. She sees the kitty heading around the corner straight into the warehouse.